I'm so excited. Who's here? Jamie. I call her James. I'm so excited to have her on my show. You know, we started doing this a long time ago together, and I can't believe that it's not until the second season that you've been on my show. I should have asked you sooner, right?
I would have said yes.
I know you would always say yes. I love it. I love it. We wanted to, you know, I did this with Dershana this last year, Jamie, where, and I'm talking about why we're even doing the show. Dershana and I were sitting in I call it the green room. And that's how I did the show that a lot of people have loved called Fake Psychics, because Dershana and I were just sitting there off camera having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of stopped in the middle of the conversation and went, wait a minute, this could be useful to people to hear about. And you and I have been having more than one conversation.
Yes.
In the last few months.
3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months about what we'll call, there are lots of words for it, but psychic burnout. What do you do? What is it like? What does it feel like? How do you have self-care around it? How do you notice when it's even happening? Because it's different, right? It's not like you've run a marathon and your legs hurt or you're tired or you're dehydrated. It's a different kind of marathon that I think we've both been running, and it's a different kind of fatigue, and it's a different kind of, I don't know, tired, if tired's the right word, but that's why we're here, because we really want to talk about this. And what we hope is that talking about it through our experience, that you guys can maybe notice this in yourselves or notice this in someone you care about that is either sensitive or intuitive or empathic, or just a person who's emotional, who's getting emotional or psychic or spiritual burnout. So maybe this can help you guys. That's the goal, right?
Yes.
For today. We wanted to read the definition of burnout because it actually really applied. So I'm going to read that today. Burnout. This is Webster's or something of that nature. Burnout. Verb. To become drained. Become exhausted. Fatigued. Get tired. Grow weary. Run out of steam. Stress out. Wear down and wear out. Yeah. I wanted to tell a little story today because there is this, I'm a fan of someone I've never met who does what we do somewhat. And I can't wait to meet her one day. And if you're there, her name's Azalea Lee, and she is in Los Angeles, and I follow her on Instagram. And she is a crystal healer, and she has this beautiful aesthetic, and she has this beautiful way about her, and I've never met her, but I've heard about her. So I followed her on Instagram, and I loved seeing her posts, and I loved hearing about the classes and the healing she was doing and the readings. She does crystal readings, and there's just something about Azalea Lee that I love, and one day I'm going to meet her. And I've been following her for about a year now, and so one day I'm looking at my Instagram, and I should have actually read it out loud today because she said it way more eloquently than I am going to. But anyway, I read this beautiful post, and she said, "Hi, everybody, all the people that love me. I am getting ready to," she goes, "I've grown out of the practice, the space, and in general, the life that I've built." She said, "I'm in the process of changing all of that because it no longer fits me." And she said, "I am going to be moving spiritually as well as physically, and I can't wait to reconnect with all of you in the future and continue this work that God has put me on this earth to do." And she said, "I love all of you, and I love your support, and I'm so excited about this transition that I'm getting ready to make. And I can't wait to see you guys on the other side."
Wow.
And when I tell you, Jamie, I read that and something just washed over me because it was so loving And I just, by the end of reading it, I was so connected with her because it was so authentic. And I loved her and I was rooting for her and I was so supportive of what she just said she was going to do. And then I noticed, I looked at it and I was like, well, when? And I read it again. There were no dates, there were no time frames, but she assured me she'd be back. And not only did I kind of have this experience with her, and I've never even met her, but what happened was it kind of smacked me in the face. Laura, you can do that too. You have permission. You have permission, because she kind of showed me the way, just in a very energetic way. She showed me the way of having a boundary, self-care, connection with the people that she's been helping, love, compassion for herself as well as her viewers and or the people that she helps heal. It was a really big moment for me, and it was literally, Jamie, a little Instagram post.
But before you read that, did you know you needed something like that?
No. I knew I had been... I'm so tired.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have any of these symptoms?
Yes.
Did you have the exhaustion?
Yes.
Did you have the tire out?
I had these symptoms, and you probably heard it, just like I've heard it from you. But, it's one of these things you do where you're not conscious of it, where you're like, oh, I'm so tired, or oh, I'm so tired and I've got to do readings tomorrow. But not being conscious of it. By the way, not taking responsibility for it. I was almost falling into this victim thing. Like they're doing it to me, or they're draining me, or they're what everybody wants me, or no. Not going, I'm in charge. And they're not trying to hurt me. They're not trying to drain me. I'm in charge. They love me. I love them. Right? I had a moment.
That's an interesting twist, because when I would fall into burnout, whether it was like in phases in my practice or where I've reached now and coming to a sabbatical, I would look at it and say, I can't give enough. I can't give what I need to give. And then I would be mad and upset with myself because I knew I had done something wrong. Mm-hmm. Like it never felt as if the outside was taking it. I wasn't good enough in what I was giving. Mm-hmm. Twist.
Either way, we're headed to the same destination of burnout. And either way, I just want to kind of give her props, and I think it's a lesson to all of us in that what a simple act of compassion towards herself and her followers, and a simple act of self-care. What hit me was the fact that in my practice a lot, and I know you do it too because I've come to you, there's a lot of messages and just work that comes through about other people taking care of themselves, other people advocating for themselves, other people stepping up and doing what they need to do for themselves. And I encourage people all the time, and my guides come through me to encourage people all the time. And you know what a bigger message to people is for that than even saying it out loud to them from their guides is to be that.
Huh. Imagine. Lead by example.
Lead by example. So she led by example, which immediately it was almost like cold water on my face. And I just went, wait a minute. And I have to tell you, Jamie, and I'm talking a lot. I want to hear a little bit about the story that you're having right now and the place you've come to. But for me, it was like I had not realized that I didn't have to do this, that I wasn't obligated to do it, that I had to, that it's a choice that I make, and that I don't do it in lieu of my own self-care, and that, by the way, that example can help the people I'm trying to help.
Yeah. Big time. But can you share, because you still have a corporate career. I mean, that's your livelihood. That's the big chunk of it.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have all your spiritual work, your readings. But, for some of us, we might look at you and go, oh, you do readings all the time.
Right.
And we can understand why you have a burnout. And I think people looking from the outside, if they find out you're only putting in X amount of hours a week and they don't think that that's a full time or enough to be exhausted, that there starts to come some kind of judgment or opinion with it. And it's not about
that's a great point.
Right, it's not about the amount
of time. It's the amount of energy.
Bing.
Thank you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Thank you. Yep.
That's what it is. So
different.
If you're doing that to yourself and you're like, wow, but I'm only giving sessions like 2 a week and, I'm not really in it full time, but I'm just, it's not about the time. It's about the energy that you're putting in it. And if it is imbalanced, do some self-care first.
Right. That's right. And here's the other thing. Everything in my life, Jamie, I love. And one thing you and I have in common is we have such passion for creating things. And we've created different things, but we're both entrepreneurs. We both want to create things. We both want to, and I have so many things that I want to do all the time, and I have so many things I've got my hands in, and I love all of those things. LOVE. Love. I love my company. I love my clients. I love myself. I love that I have these gifts that I can share. It's such a privilege and a joy. It's such a privilege and a joy. That being said, it's a balancing act. Oh my gosh. And especially when you're doing psychic work, it's different than the company I have, where it is actually, the longer I've had the company, actually it is actually getting, they're actually merging together. The longer I have the company, the less of the actual physical work that I'm doing, and the more of the responsibility and the mind share and the thinking hard and the thinking of others and having that responsibility of I've got to help them, and the people lining up outside your door that need you, right? They need me to help encourage them. They need me. So actually, interestingly, the bigger my company gets, the more my work there looks like my work that I'm doing with my readings, right? So it's this drain that sneaks up on you. And I had another big, because it's not a physical exhaustion. It's not I've worked 80 hours this week. I look at all this work I've completed, and you see the pile of work, and you go, look at that, look at what I've accomplished, right?
Which is some sense of measurement.
You just crystallized it. There is not an easy way. This is so important what she just said. We're getting to something. There is not an easy way to measure the energy output. You can measure how much money you've spent.
Yep.
You can measure, if you're working in a factory, what your production has been, right?
Yeah.
You can't measure the production with energy work. So I'll never forget, Jamie, and this is one of my wake-up calls. It was probably 3 months ago. And I've been doing these shows, which, oh my gosh, what a thrill to do these shows. I've been running my company and then the readings. So I added the shows this year. I had this crazy week, and it was the end of the day on Friday, and I was getting ready to do more readings on Saturday. And about 9:00 that night, I was in the drugstore after my day with a cart full of Epsom salt. Literally, I had
I got a good visual on this.
All the Epsom salt just about in the drugstore.
I was about to say, she probably cleared the bottom
I did.
shelf. They put the big boxes on the bottom shelf. She got down and handed me.
I did. I had all of them, and I wasn't even thinking. I was like a
even
zombie.
Hit you?
I was like a zombie, walking. Literally, it's like Walking Dead, walking in the aisle.
The sign is in your cart, Laura. The sign is here.
I'm walking like this with a cart full of Epsom salts, and then all of a sudden, they call it, like Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever, they call it that moment of clarity. I literally kind of stopped and went, and it was almost like I rose up out of my body and looked at myself, and it was like,
what are you doing? You were being a good worker, B.
And this is my weekend. What is that? This is my Friday night. Right? And I had a moment, and I was like, wait a minute, I am energetically exhausted. And I've got to figure that out. Okay? And so I have cut it really short. I have, stopped doing readings for a minute. And and even then I don't stop doing readings. I've been doing about 3 a week with friends and family. And I am thrilled to do that because it's a gift and a privilege. But I'll never stop doing it, and it's what I love to do.
Is it a
Yes.
different energy output for you when it's with friends and family? Because it's neat to hear you say that, because I say to myself, in my sabbatical, I would love to read for friends and family. Because my friends and family, they hear me say, I got to pull back, it's too much, 26 years straight, no breaks, no nothing, like I need to catch my breath. And they hear me kind of complaining that I don't have an outlet, or
They
I
don't
need
want to
a
ask
different,
you.
and they don't want to ask me. I'm like, but you don't understand, it's different with friends and family for me. So it was cool to hear you just kind of come out with the statement. Different energy exchange. It's someone I love to pieces, and I'm watching them light up and listen and change. And it's just so easy to plug into something like that. It charges my batteries, and it feels so good. And I don't have to put it on the calendar, and I don't have to shape it as much.
Well, I think what you're talking about there is a part of what we're trying to get to in the show. And that is, when you're doing this work, it's so much about, and channeling is like this too, right? You set yourself aside.
Yeah.
And then this comes through. So what you were just doing is checking in with how that made you feel to do that reading. What did you get out of it? Right? And that is what light workers, the trap that they fall into, and trap, I don't mean to sound negative, but it's a giving profession. It's a selfless profession. I mean, being a channeling is about being selfless. You put yourself aside, and the world needs that, but the self needs rejuvenation. The self needs care, self-care. So, it's much like, and I know you've heard this cliche a lot, it's much like, the air mask comes down in the plane. You got to do this first before you can do it, to someone else. So what I have found is I have, interestingly, the world has not stopped by me stopping readings for a minute. And actually, I've had a couple of my very avid followers, clients that I've worked with for years that have reached out to me on the back end personally and said, good for you. And I know they actually want a reading, but they haven't said, and by the way, I want a reading. They're like, good for you.
Take care of you.
Yeah. So it's been really rejuvenating for me. And I don't know when I'm going to do them again. I've said the fall, but I don't know because I've just got a lot on my plate, but it feels really good to do this. How I want to talk about your story, the fact, how long have I been doing this? Now, I've been doing my company as well for 13 years, but I've been doing my company and readings for about 7 or 8 years. I mean, like as a professionally. When I finally got to this consciousness, Jamie, and kind of got the self-awareness, I stopped for a second and I really just had this wave of, oh my gosh, Jamie's been doing this for 26 years.
Again, it's not the amount of time.
I know it's not the amount of time, but not truly going, I'm going to stop for a minute for 26 years.
Yeah.
What has that been like?
Seriously?
What are the gyrations?
That's the question.
What are the thought
Wow.
processes that you've been going through, and struggles or good feelings, or what? I mean, how do you feel about doing this? Because what's going on inside of you is going on inside of some of these folks.
Hang in there.
Right?
It gets better.
Right? Yeah. You feel like you're coming out the other side, or are you a little bit scared? Right? Because you haven't done it yet, right? In
No,
a few
it
weeks,
comes
you're
up
getting
in September, and I'm terrified. It's not that I'm terrified to let go of the readings. I still want to do the readings. It's everything that I know I can do.
And you're supposed to do, in a way. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
One of the things you're supposed to do.
Right, and I got a lot of security in it. I have confidence in it.
Practice.
It's comfortable. I've got practice.
Comfortable.
I know my stuff.
Yeah.
But it is the thing that I invested in to financially support me. So to know that I have to take self-care and pull away from doing it, it also was pulling away from me financially. So now it's time to look at other ways financially to bring income in. So that feeds into some of my being scared and fear. But too bad we don't have my husband here. Rui could explain it to you so simple. Like when we met each other.
This is another good topic too. What's the home life about with all this? Yeah.
Big time, because he was like, I used to come home and be like, oh my God, let me tell you about my day. And we would literally sit down and just eat dinner, and I would talk about all the readings and the insights, and we'd ooh and ah at it for years. That was part of our routine. Then we had babies.
The magic of it.
It was so
the
beautiful.
Magic of it. You were still enamored with the magic of it.
Oh my! And the hard ones where I'd come home crying, and he would just hold me and he'd go, "Baby, it'd be okay." Oh, I can't even think about it. So there's those that are really, really hard, and I know I can't share it with him because he's someone who he remembers every detail. It becomes alive for him, and then it feeds maybe some of his fears, and so there's a moment where you have to be really solo. It's a lonely career.
Yes.
If you're in it, you know exactly what I'm talking to. It's extremely lonely. Though you're dealing with people every day, you're helping them and you're talking about them, but that content that you just had, that magic with that one person, you can't go to the next person and share it.
Well, how about this? How about the other part that makes it lonely? You ready for this? What about Jamie?
Oh yeah, I'm not in any of the stories.
There's nothing about Jamie there. It's not a conversation with Jamie. It's not about Jamie. There's no, what about Jamie? And there's nothing wrong with it not being about Jamie, but there has to be balance.
Mm-hmm. And my husband noticed that. He said one day I came home and I stopped sharing the stories.
Mm.
And he started asking me, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm going to work. And I started calling it work.
Yeah.
And I would go to work. And I was growing the center, and I was doing other endeavors and just kind of putting my head down and working. Collaborated with Elisa Meadows and channeling Eric. And Elisa's whole message is talking about her son's suicide. And kind of breaking the boundaries in that. And Eric and his spirit was very good.
That was good work.
It was good work. Yeah. And my husband noticed, he goes, when you come home, babe, he's like, not only do you not tell me the stories anymore and you don't have a smile on your face, you shoo me away.
Yeah.
Because I knew I couldn't talk to my husband about the stories of suicide and death and suffering. Because I didn't want him to have those. I don't want him to have those visions and imagery and...
Well, can I tell you something? Go ahead.
It's separated.
Can I tell you something else? What you just said, I think there's another piece of it, and I relate to it. When you do this to him, when you get home and you're like, another piece of that, Jamie, is, there's a lot of isolation, self-imposed isolation.
Yes.
And let me tell you, God bless you that you have a husband and children. I don't have that. And you know what? It's not that I'm not social and I'm not loving and I'm all intact up here, guys. But there's been a choice around just how much interaction I can have because I am an empath. There is so much that's been unspoken between me and you around that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I really understand the need for going away, privacy, not having so much time to be intimate with people, just friend-wise. It's hard.
Yeah, can you grab the tissues for me, please? You don't have to stop rolling. Just get me the tissue.
Let's not
so I
stop
can
rolling.
gracefully cry right
No,
now.
but this is a good moment for people to understand. I think people are going to relate to this. But we both, I mean, I need a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
And that can be hurtful to family. I understand that. I don't have a family. If I had a family, it would be hurtful to them. It has been hurtful to some of my friends and extended family. And they have, Jamie, and I know you do this with Rui, you have to self-advocate. You have to self-advocate. You need support in that. Like, I think we've connected around that as friends.
It is true. We've had many dinners and lunches where you've really supported. Because I don't share it with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you just get so drained. That's another, we're talking about flags of burnout.
That's a flag, people.
That's a big flag.
And
when
I didn't
you're
recognize
isolating.
that was a flag. And I've been doing that for 6, 7, 8, probably 8 years.
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
Putting my hand at my
To
husband
people.
and
And
just saying,
people.
you can't. I'll be out in the yard and I'll hear the front door crack open and I whip my head around and he knows my look and he's like, all right. And I'm out there pulling weeds, trying to get the stories off of me and the energy balance.
Yeah.
So I can go in and be the person I know I am.
Right.
Because I know I'm not that person who just morphed and did all those things and know all these things that I really don't want to know. And having a therapist is extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Life coach, things of that nature is
Do you
great,
go to a
but
therapist on a regular basis?
I used to.
Okay.
I haven't in the last 3 years or so.
Oh, I think it's so crucial. I go
But
every
once a week, life coach on the phone.
Good. You got to have
Amazing.
something where it's just about Jamie.
Yes. But it's so much, it's different having somebody like you who is in the field and when we're
get
talking about it and you go, huh. The nod of the head is not condescending. It's like, whew, look behind you. I'm in that boat as well. And it's just different. You can talk about it, whereas some other people might hear it as complaining. And what are you complaining about? You're so good at this. It's so easy for you. You charge so much money. What do you complain? You have nothing to complain
you charge
about.
so much money. That's another thing.
It's like, that's not really what's happening on this end, but okay.
That's another thing. Let's talk about that for a second because I think it's really important.
Come on in, spirits.
Wow, right on.
That was wild.
The charging of money thing. I think, and the reason I'm going to bring this up when it comes to burnout, I think it's completely connected. And that is, there needs to be an exchange of energy. And in this situation, and I know you do it more to make a living, I have a company that supports me more than my readings do. But literally, I had people that love me sit down with me and say, you're not charging enough. And I was like, well, but, I'm supposed to give back in this way. And I have a job. And they were like, no, you're not charging enough. Then I think it was you. It was my guides through you. I went to a reading and my guides came through. And they said, you have to charge enough that you aren't resentful and you feel like there's an exchange, right? And it's good for the other person to pay you because then it's more equal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's another part of an energy exchange. But I think,
The fee, the fair energy exchange.
love that.
Thank you, Kelly Knight. That's where I heard it from.
That's a great, I love that.
Fair
acronym.
energy exchange is the fee of whatever energy and monetary value.
But I think it's interesting that your prices went up and up and up. And I think that's because it was taking more and more and more of you to do it. And now you are not, it's like there's no amount of money.
Yes, it was
Does that make sense?
self-preservation.
Yeah,
right, because
exactly.
I had 20 slots in the week. And I would take on extra, and then I would do something else. So maybe I would do 22, 24 readings in a week for a certain price. And that was reasonable, and it was a great living. And then I got tired, burned out, and I was like, I can't do this all the time. I need Fridays off. So all of a sudden there was 5 slots that had to be made up monetarily in the other 4 days.
Yeah.
And then the network had the project, so Thursday had to go away. And then I'm on 3 days doing 12 sessions. And so, the others had to absorb so everything could be covered and paid for and have everything run. And then at that time where I have found that self-preservation by dropping a few days and keeping the money coming in so I don't go into debt and bankruptcy, then I'm not really hearing a support from the community, because all the community is seeing is she just cranked her prices. Now she's too expensive. Now it's all in her head. Now she's ego-driven. Now she's all about the money. Now she think, some of the emails I've gotten,
Wow.
people can be so mean. I mean, nasty stuff where you're just like,
They don't know the rest of the story.
right. And I'm like, don't take this personal, Jamie. You're doing what you need to do to keep doing the work.
Right.
Because I want to do the work. I just can't do it as much as I have. And that was the buffer.
Just know that just like Azalea, who I talked about at the beginning, I guarantee you she had some, negative comments, right? But she also, I'm sure by you doing that, people like me were touched and support you and love you. And they're like, wait a minute, I don't have to go, I need to take care of myself too.
The language changed when I came out and said, I'm going to do a sabbatical.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I can't believe you charge what you charge, emails started coming in going, oh my God,
you need a break.
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. The love came in.
It was email after email that Dawn was sending me, and I was so afraid to read them. And Dawn was like, did you read those emails? And I went, no. She was like, what? No, they're all great. You have to read them. Please read them.
It's supportive.
And I was
Receive the support.
I don't want to hear the opinions. I can't do this anymore. I finally read them, and it was wonderful to hear that, somebody else could see why I was making the choice, but it was scary. It's still scary.
Well, and I think there's this other thing too about, the more I do this work, and then the other thing is I'm really working on channeling you guys, and what an experience that is.
She's gonna do it.
I know, I'm terrified, but at the same time I'm thrilled and exhilarated. But I will tell you what's so interesting about channeling, and you've been doing this for a long time, it really, really, the foundational aspect to it is putting yourself aside and removing yourself from what is going on. And I know you have been doing that just at such a level, to the point where you don't remember a word you say when you channel. Okay, so that's how much you remove yourself, which is a beautiful, amazing gift and wonderful activity. But, you start to get in touch with the world that's outside of our body and the world that's outside of this dimension that we're in, right? When you start doing that, it's like this life goes into a little category over here. It goes on a little shelf over here, right? And then you start, which is a thrill, right? You kind of forget about that for a while and you start thinking about all this other stuff. Well, guess what? We're here in this time, in this place, in this body, Jamie and Laura, to live human lives and to do things and grow things around Laura and Jamie. So it's about balance. So, you need to, and you're doing things that involve Jamie and Jamie's personality and learning about how to deal with people better and learning about how to be an entrepreneur and developing all these different aspects to Jamie, which is being more human and less the kite going off into the cosmos. Right?
I'm the rock.
So you're coming back down
Yeah.
to the human aspect of everything, which is, it's why we're here, you guys. I mean, everybody, it's so funny.
I love it.
Right? Everybody, it's so attractive, and I think it's why people love the network and people love, metaphysics and channeling and psychic ability and all this stuff, because it gives people a break from humanness, right? And so those of us who do this work live in that realm so much.
So we really enjoy being human.
We need the opposite at times.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the polar opposite. It's like, I want to go do what normal people do. and think about normal people things.
Well, this is where my husband
Right?
goes, Jamie, are you serious? You think that's funny? You really want to do that? I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, oh my God, I thought you were above this. I'm like, I'm not. I need to go ride that golf cart. I need to do I need to say the puns out loud because they're hysterical. He's like, I'm leaving the room.
Yeah, because you have a body and you have a life that's in a linear time frame.
I have
You're
a
getting
choice.
older. You have a choice. You know, you're in a different phase of your life. What is that going to be like? You know?
I don't know, and I'm excited to figure out.
Right? Aren't you?
Yes.
The network's so fun. I see you
This
being
is
this
so
businesswoman. It's so fun to
Isn't
watch.
that For a while there, it was when Laura and I were hanging out.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
I knew what you were going to say. At the beginning.
Do it.
Yeah. Tell the story.
Laura had all the corporate information, the knowledge, the business, and everything.
My identity has been business, working, company. Anyway.
So freaking smart and intelligent. The way she sees things, her lens, it was just like big girl crush. And
Same, though.
I was like spiritual
reverse.
bug over here. Like, oh, these dimensions, spirits, so easy. You know, everybody can do it. Yeah. And I was like, but I can't do business. Can we talk about business? And she's like, you want to talk about business? I'm like, like, I was so attracted to that. And Laura was like, well, talk about the dead people. Talk about how you're channeling. And so now we've kind of...
We mentored each other.
Yes, totally.
Literally mentored each other because I think we're almost like yin and yang, but we have the...
I'll be your yin to your yang.
Right? I'll be your yang to your yin.
Thanks.
Boonler.
We're
Whatever they call it. They called us Boonler.
Yes.
We really are.
Jesse's like
Oh, it's like your
Butler and Boone.
Well,
celebrity name.
it's like Brangelina or, you know.
Yeah, your celebrity. Your celebrity
It's
name.
our celebrity married. Boonler.
Boom.
It's like a bromance, cismance.
It's a cis man.
Though it really is, though, in a sense, it's just been a wonderful help for us both. I think we both have something that the other one has needed, and you know, I think a lot of relationships can be that way. But I'll just, to get back to the topic a little bit, especially people that do this kind of work, they need support.
Gotta find your community.
Gotta find your community.
And the moment you feel uncomfortable or off or tired, exhausted, drained,
Check in.
please, whether it's with your community, with your therapist, your life coach,
With yourself.
with Laura Boone,
Yeah, with us.
come. You know, I always say fingers to the keyboard, but share with us, comment with us. I mean, I think the most valuable thing about the network is that we do have a community that's chatting.
I love it.
So the community can talk to each other and get help and express. I do X amount of readings and I'm tired, and you know, how do we balance the energy?
Mm-hmm. How do you, and we've talked about psychic protection. We've actually, you and I have done some really good shows about that. But I think today what we really wanted to talk about are what are the warning signs, and
Yeah. How do we
And-
identify it?
and gosh, you guys, I hope we're being, you know, we're just by our actions and our behaviors, we're giving permission for self-care. Showing each other how we've supported each other, because, you know, you can do that for each other out there.
You know, even self-care in identifying what change you might make in your personal work, your meditation, your career, even if it's going to be a year out. Just knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's so important, right?
Because back in May, when I decided in September I was taking a sabbatical, all of a sudden
Yeah,
I had somewhere I was headed.
a shift happened.
Whereas the last 2 years, I was aiming to cut back. I was going towards sabbatical, but I'd never announced it. I never made a date. I never set it in the future. And so I constantly felt like I was overwhelmed and working too much, and that I couldn't do the work, and that I was feeling bad I couldn't maintain it. But as soon as I set the date, boom, it went away. Or as Jessie says, bam, it
Bam.
went away.
Well, I'm excited about what's going to come next. It's
Me
going to be
too.
great. I can't wait to see how you fill that space in, because it's going to get full.
Yes, it's going to be full. I don't
It's
know how
going
to
to
sit
be
still.
full. It's going to be amazing. Well, the network is one thing, one little tiny thing you've done in your spare time.
It is. I've been designing products and
Isn't it fun?
writing a few books right now, but I don't know, I can't say anything about it yet still. So now it's more creative expression, which totally lights me up, and you were the one that highlighted that for me.
Sun
play,
in
play.
the 5th house. Sun in the 5th house. Actually, I just did a show on the firehouses, and the 5th house is a firehouse. And when I first did her chart, she was like, "What does that mean? A sun in the 5th house?" And I was like, "Oh, girl, you need to play and create and be on a stage and all of those things," which, doing serious readings that have to do with grief and loss every day, all day long, is not that. And it doesn't mean that you don't do that. That's your gift, but you've got to balance it with all that other fun stuff. So, okay, well, I hope this helped you guys today. Yeah.
It helps me. Thank you, Laura.
It's like therapy session.
I'm just going to leave with my tissues
With your
now.
tissues?
I'll hang out in the glitter bathroom.
We got it
and
all
cry a
cried
little
out.
bit.
We cried out. So, gosh, go to lauraboone.org if you want to hear any more of my shows or binge on my shows, because I've got everything really organized. If you are just watching this one show, please go to thelightersidenetwork.com and subscribe. And we're busy filming other shows, but we thank you guys for your support. I hope this helped. And write us on the message boards. Do you have anything to add to this conversation? We'd love to hear about it.
Jesse wants me to mention Facebook. No.
Like us on
Ready?
Facebook.
Yeah. Go to Facebook, the Lighter Side Network. Like us, follow, subscribe. But mostly, if you have a topic idea, if you see something that you want us to highlight, let us know. We like to engage with you guys. That's one thing that's really cool and unique about us, is that we engage with you. We're not just stuck on your iPhone or your computer.
Well, and also, it's why we do this, okay? It's not just because we like to be in front of a camera. In fact, I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. Go watch that show. That's not what I'm all about. It's about having an impact.
Really?
Right? It's about having an impact
I'm
on
gonna learn more
others.
about that.
So when people write and they say, "I liked the show," or "I thought about something different because of your show," that's why I do
It's
this.
huge.
Isn't it
feels
amazing?
So
Feels
good.
so
Oh
good.
my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My love.
My
Boonler.
Boonler powers activate.
Boonler.
You can take that one.
Bye, guys. Thank you.